Okay, let's begin. You guys can hear me okay? Yes? Good. Thank you very much for joining me this morning. The goal for our talk today, our lightning session, is one thing and one thing only, is to help you or teach you how you can use AI to analyze user feedback, right? As PMs, we spend a ton of time looking at data, looking at customer reviews, looking at feedback, and then using that to analyze and inform us what kind of product to build. AI can help you do a lot of that. And not only can it help you do a lot of that, it can help you do it better, hopefully better, and it can actually help you save time. Now, in our next 30 minutes, I'm actually going to focus on one part of it. I'm going to focus on actually using AI to review App Store data or customer reviews from App Store. But the techniques you learn here can be used for any type of reviews. You can use it for doing customer tickets, logs, transcripts, interviews, you name it. So my goal is by the end of this course, hopefully you guys will be able to do that, um, in which you can use AI to analyze results. Now, how do we get there, or how do we use that? So for our session today, I have three simple agenda items. First one is I just want to show you an example. I'm going to run through it very quickly, and we're going to review, we're going to perform a quick sentiment analysis on App Store reviews for Figma. And for that, the goal is just to show you what's possible. It's the art of the possible. Second is we're going to actually go and take a look at the prompt. And more specifically, we're going to break that prompt down and say, why does this prompt work? Why does it give us this type of results? Because understanding how to write a well-structured prompt is going to actually help you figure out all the analysis that we talked about earlier. And third is I want to also share with you, if you use this well-structured prompt, what else can you automate with it, right? I see a lot of folks joining. I'll try to do Q&A at the end of it. I want to go through the content first, but if there's questions, just let me know or put questions in chat, and we'll go from there. As for me, my name is Mustafa Kapadia. I actually have over 20 years, I can't believe it. I have over 20 years of product management and innovation experience. I actually used to run product and innovation for Google. I used to be the global head for their innovation centers. I ran product at IBM, and before that, I was a consultant for product innovation at Deloitte. Right now, I'm actually a mix of a whole bunch of things. I do coaching, I do advising, I do teaching, and I do consulting, which is my bread and butter. You can connect me on LinkedIn and newsletter. There's a QR code at the end, so you guys don't have to worry about it. You can just point your phone to it. Now, let's get into it, right? So just to kind of set a baseline, right? Before we get into the example, when I write a prompt or when I try to automate a PM task with AI, I have certain expectations. I set some baselines. I want the prompt to do most of the work for me. I want the prompt to do heavy lifting. And what that means is I want the prompt to do a few things. Number one is I want it to make sure that I write in such a way that it delivers high quality results, or what I call the first best draft. Listen, with AI, if you ask a question, it's going to give you an answer. But most of the time, the answers it gives you is usually junk or you can't use it. But I want to write a prompt in such a way, and you'll see it now, that I want to deliver high quality results. Second is I want to make sure that I write it in such a way that it's going to save me at least 60 to 80% of the time that I actually use without using the prompt. Third is I want the prompt to give me the results that I do have to do very minimum sparring. And what I mean by sparring is, and you guys have seen this, right? You ask AI a question, it gives you a response, and you ask another question, you get a response. And pretty soon you're asking like 5 or 10 questions, you're down a rabbit hole. Maybe the AI hasn't misunderstood what you're saying, and then you have to start all over again. I want to be able to write a prompt in which I run it once and I get the results, which actually then saves me time and it's less frustrating. And the last part is that I want it to be reusable. And what I mean by reusable, as in today, we're actually going to use Figma App Store data, but I want to use the same prompt, and tomorrow I want to use a different App Store data, or maybe a different time frame, or a different piece of data. So I want to write the prompt once and keep reusing it again and again. And we'll get into what I mean by that. And so that's the baseline of what I think about what a good prompt looks like. So let's see an example, right? what I really want to do, or show you the example, is I'm going to take a look at Figma export data. I want to do a quick sentiment analysis. I want to see what positive feedback is, what negative feedback is, and I want to see what is the most requested feature, right? And the way I'm going to do it is, like I said, I'm going to run through the example really quick, and then I'm going to break that prompt down to see why we got the results that we got. So our steps for today is number one, I've downloaded the Figma App Store reviews. I'll show that to you. I'm going to use Claude instead of OpenAI. And the reason I use Claude is simply because Claude is much better at analyzing data than OpenAI. I use different LLMs for different tasks because not all LLMs are created equal. OpenAI is great for other things. For analyzing data, I usually like to use Claude. I'm going to use my pre-written prompt right now, which is synthesized user feedback, and I'll share that with you. And then we're going to run the prompt in a new chat window, and we're going to analyze it. So just to kind of give you an idea, here's the Figma App Store data. Can you guys see this tab? Yes? Just tell me yes. Just give me a thumbs up or thumbs down. Yeah, perfect. Kurt, I'm going to rely on you because you're on video, so you can tell me. All I've done is just downloaded the data, right? I haven't really played around with it. You can see it's just data. I haven't cleaned it. There's a bunch of things here. All I've done is, and I think in this one, because we have only 30 minutes, this is only about 100 lines of data, but you can use that for more. What I'm going to do is with this, I'm actually going to use this prompt. I'm going to use the synthesized user feedback prompt. So let's go through it, right? I'm going to go to Claude. I'm actually going to first copy the prompt, which I actually have it in a playbook. Give me a minute. My screen just froze. Here's my prompt. And there's a reason why I write it this way, and we'll go into that. I'm going to put it in Claude here, and I'm going to add the file. There you go. And it's going to take a few minutes for this to generate. I'm curious, while we're waiting for it to generate and come up with the results, how long does it usually guys take? How long does it take you guys usually to do review of data like this? Just you can put it in chat and just give me an idea. Or you can share it with me in the screen. Perfect. Thank you, Heather. Hours. Yes, it usually takes me hours or days, to be honest with you. Perfect. Thank you, Dina. Anyone else? Listen, when I used to run this at Google or even IBM, and this is a very short data stack. I mean, I used to do, I don't know about you guys. I used to look at Excel. I used to be a whiz at macro, like the running macros all the time, trying to figure out what is all the correlations. I used to actually have somebody help me write SQL queries, depending on the size of the data, or worse. I shouldn't say worse, but I used to actually go to the data team and actually have them write a query for me. And of course, that would take hours to do that. So let's take a look at this, right? So in a few minutes that we put together, here's what the prompt gave us. It gave us positive feedback, and it tells us exactly what the feedback is and how many times it's been mentioned. It gave us negative feedback about limited mobile functionality with iPads. It tells me how many times people mentioned that. It tells me the most features requested. And just for this one, I actually asked for what are the most competitors mentioned. I asked it to give me a quick summary. And usually when I used to present these things, I always like to have customer quotes. And so I actually asked it for quotes as well. And it tells me, what do they love? I don't understand. What's the point? So it has both positive and negative quotes. Now, like I said, this used to take me hours. But if you write the prompt the way I'm going to share with you, this will take you minutes. Now, does this mean that you're done? No, what I call this is, like I said, remember, it's the first best draft. So you always want to go and check the data, and you want to make sure that the AI is not pointing in the right direction. The other way to do it is to use the same data and run it in a different large language model, like OpenAI, and see if the data correlates. So there's multiple ways that you can keep checking it, but you never just believe it once, or you can run this again and see if it gives you the same data, right? So that is how you can actually go and save time. So then the question becomes is, why does this work? Why does this prompt give us this type of data? Because here's how most people interact with large language models, right? So for something like this, and I've noticed this, I've actually trained a lot of PMs, I've coached a lot of PMs. Everything that you see here is a result of me coaching PMs and using how to use AI. Is this how they ask the question? Can you help me analyze this document for sentiment analysis? You can even say, can you give me positive and negative reviews? And you can actually try that. I guarantee you the results you're going to get are basically junk. Nothing that you can actually do like what we just saw before. Nothing actionable, nothing that you can then pick up and say, okay, from here, I need to go further, or I need to now think about what features to build or what user stories to create. And the reason for that is because when you ask a question like this, you're not providing the AI the right context. AI does great when you provide it with lots of context. And so one of the fundamental things, if you guys don't remember anything from this call except for this one, is this. The way you ask questions matter. And with AI, there's a certain technique of asking questions. Because when you're vague like this, and this is a vague question from an AI perspective, there's just not enough data. So what AI does, it starts guessing. It starts guessing as to what is the format that this person wants. So it's going to come up with something. When it says analyze the attached document, is it the AI assumes, are you telling me to analyze the information in the document, or are you just telling me to analyze what type of document it is? And so you can put this prompt in and you can see what different type of results you're going to get. This is one of the reasons why PMs get so frustrated when they use AI, because it just doesn't give them the right answer. And it's not because the AI is not giving the right answer, and some PMs not going to like this. It's because we have not provided with enough context. So what does that context look like, right? For me, I actually call it the 5 keys. And the 5 keys is number one, is that you provide the AI a role. So if you look at this user feedback, I actually tell it that you're the most experienced person coming to building great products, and you're an expert in analyzing or synthesizing user feedback. I've given AI specific instructions of a persona that I wanted to take. And say if you wanted to change this to analyzing interview transcripts, you would say expert in analyzing interview transcripts. If you wanted to be a great marketeer, you can say instead of building great products, you can say becoming a great go-to-market expert. Second is I provided with input. And remember I said I want to write a prompt once and then reuse it for different things. The way I write it this way is because the input is the dynamic piece of the prompt. So here I can change the input, and from Figma, I can go to another data or something else, and I can just change it and I can start using this prompt again and again. So A, you want to provide it with input, and the input is a dynamic piece of it. Third is I want to give it specific instructions. And in instructions, I'm actually doing two things. Number one is I'm telling it best practices. So if you look at it, when analyzing, please use a structured methodology for sorting and analyzing feedback. Recognize and mitigate biases. Prioritize feedback that provides it's actionable. All the best practices that you've learned as a PM. Oh, not sure where that happened, but let me try that again. All the best practices that you've learned as a PM can go in here. And what you're doing is you're training the model, you're training AI to behave in a certain way. And so if you have certain best practices that you like, this is where you put it in. Then you actually tell it what it needs to do. You have to tell it, okay, analyze it for, in our case, positive feedback, negative feedback, most features requested, competitors, and frequency of mentions. And so if you want something else, this is where you change it. If you want to analyze call transcripts or interview transcripts, you can change it here too. But this is your opportunity to actually give the AI specific instructions of what you want it to do. Now, the last part, sorry, the key number 4 is you have to tell the format that you want the information in. Now, I want a format, I specifically want it in this format because it's easier for me to read. And more importantly, it's easier for my audience, whoever I'm going to present this to, is for them to read. So I tell it that in your format, I want positive feedback in a certain way. So I want a summary. I want a summary of the positive feedback. I want it only in one sentence, and I want you to tell me how many times it's mentioned. I do the same thing for negative, same thing for features, same thing for competitors. For the summary, I tell it I want a short summary. And for quotes, I tell it what to do. By asking or by giving them a format, you're actually forcing the LLM to respond to you in a certain way. And so the instructions tell it what to do. The format tells you how to respond it. And all what you're really doing is you're really getting very, very specific about how you ask questions. Remember, how you ask questions matters. It can make a difference between getting the AI to do the heavy lifting for you, or it can be, if you don't ask it well, you can spend a lot of times just trying to spar with AI and going down the rabbit hole. Now, there is a 5th key to this, and that is to give it examples. Now, I don't give it examples in this case, simply because if I give it an example, it's going to skew the analysis. So when I actually do analysis, I actually don't give examples, but when you see some of the other prompts, I do give examples that actually reinforces it, so to speak. And if you look at this, if you use this following structure, there's a lot that you can do with AI, right? Just to kind of give you an example, here's the library that I use. Let's see, is this one? Yeah. Here's the library that I've used, just using that format. I mean, these are the things that we've been able to automate, right? Brainstorm new product and features, brainstorm epics, write narratives, align with themes, prioritize, create summaries, create personas, brainstorm jobs to be done, user stories. We just did synthesize user feedback. You can do SWOT analysis. You can do brainstorm structure. Every task in here follows that same structure. So let me give you an idea, right? Brainstorm new product and features. Same thing. You have a role. You have an input. In this case, I'm asking for 5 things. And there's an art to asking what the input is. I give it instructions. I get a format. And I give it an example. If I go to, let's pick another one. User stories are always fun. If I ask for user stories, same thing. Role, input, instructions, format, and a good example. And what I'm trying to tell you is that if you start using this for analyzing analyzing user feedback, and you follow the structure, you can then use it not just for actually doing all other user analysis, but you can also use it for building and automating other tasks. Let me pause here for a minute and see if you have questions. It's 10:20 and we have about 20 minutes left. Okay, let's go through it. Will you share the prompt with the audience? Yes, I will. No, you need to tell it it's a person. I'm sorry, Catherine, I'm not sure if I understand that question. Would love access to the amazing library. So I am actually going to share with you my top 5 favorite prompts at the end of this, and I'll share with you the QR code. If you actually end up joining my bootcamp, you actually get access to the whole library, which is about 30 prompts. So we can go there. Kurt, you have a question. In your input file, do you define who the competitors are and who are when you're using this generalized prompt? I do not. I'm actually, for this case, Kurt, my goal is to just analyze the data as is so that I can actually, I can then use that to make decisions or figure out what fe features to build. But you can definitely put that in. In fact, there is a prompt in which you can actually analyze customer features and compare them with that in the playbook I just shared. I have another question. Kurt, I hope that answers the question. I hope I answered everybody else's questions too. You said Claude is better at data analysis. Would OpenAI give you different results with the same prompt? That's a great question. You know what? OpenAI will give you very similar results. I've just found Claude to be, when it comes to analyzing things and picking up some weird nuances, Claude is much better with analysis, right? What I've found out is that while every LLM is good at certain things, they're not great at everything. And so in my personal use and in my boot camp, I teach people what the strengths and weaknesses of each LLM are and which one to use for what task. And so I use OpenAI for a lot of brainstorming. Like we just saw the brainstorming feature task. So I use OpenAI for that, for user stories and so on and so forth. But when it comes to analysis, I actually use Claude a lot. When you say automation, is this focused on writing prompts or wider than that? For me, the automation is really about focusing on writing well-structured prompts that will actually help you get there faster, just like what we did now, right? Great question, because I think there's a lot of confusion about what automation means. But for me, it really is to take a PM task, break it down, and have AI do most of the heavy lifting so that it gets us to the first best draft that I just talked about. And then all you need to do is you need to go in and you need to tweak it, and you're good to go. Great questions. Anything else, guys? Okay, so let's go into, here's the thing. If you guys are interested in learning more about how to automate your work, consider my bootcamp. It's actually in about a week and a half. And then as for today, here's what we learned. And by the way, you can click on that QR code. The QR code will give you access. You can connect with me on LinkedIn. You can connect to my newsletter. I'll upload the video to this QR code once we're done with this. You can actually download the top 5 prompts playbook. And I believe, yeah, I think that should give you, it should give you everything that you have from today. But here's what we learned today, right? Number 1 is how to use AI to analyze feedback, and you can use the prompt that I just shared with you. Second is a mindset, and I really want to focus on the mindset piece. The prompt is great, and it will get you to automate 1 task, maybe 2 tasks. But if you actually build this mindset about how you ask questions, and how you use the structure, you can actually automate a lot, which is why I wanted to share with you the playbook. And then, of course, the best practices, which is the 5 keys about how you get to it, or how you actually write a well-structured prompt. With that, we're actually done. Any other questions so far? Let's see, I have 3 more in the comments. How would you give special, let's just see. Dina, how would you give social media networks as input in the prompt? You're looking to crawl several social medias for a specific product. So I think that's a great question, right? What I've done is I just downloaded the downloaded the file for Figma manually. And you can do the same thing. So AI is, you have to figure out where you want to use AI and where you don't want to use AI, right? AI is, at this moment in time, not great at crawling through all different social media platforms and gathering the data for you for that. For that, you can use the current technology that we already have. I think it works great. But once you actually have it in a file or in some kind of format, then you can use AI to crawl through that data and actually analyze for you. So it comes back to this idea about where you want to use AI and where you don't want to use AI. AI is not a simple, easy button in which you just press one button and it's going to do everything for you. It's not there yet. Eventually, when we get to agents, maybe agents will get us there, and it's going there. Remember, we're only a year and a half away from where AI was so far. But where we're using AI now is to do the analysis, not to actually do the data gathering. And I know data gathering is a tough job, or it is a manual job. But eventually we'll get there. There are products out there in the marketplace. There's tools out there in the marketplace who will actually do it for you, who will gather the data and then do the analysis itself for you. So you can always look at that. The goal of this was to just show you that if you actually write a well-structured prompt, you can actually do the analysis, maybe sometimes even better than some of these tools. And you can actually then customize it to the way you want it, right? And get it in the format that you can actually then use it. Dina, I hope that answered your question. Is it possible for us to download the Figma store reviews from any source? Yes. I actually just went to app data. It's the App Store data and just downloaded it. I think there's services out there that allow you to do it for free as well. So that's what I used. And by the way, you saw it. I actually didn't do anything with the data. I literally just copy pasted it. The goal was I want to do as little as possible and have the AI do the heavy lifting, right? When I write a prompt, I don't want to actually go in and tinker with it. I want it to give me the results that I want. I want it to give me the results right away. And so I can start moving on to the next piece. What SaaS are you asking about that's automating? That is correct. So you can use Zapier, you can use Make, you can use all of these pieces out there. Will actually then collect the data for you, right? And data collection and data analysis are two different tasks. And that's the other part about when you use when I use AI, you have to break things into micro tasks. As humans, our brains work really fast. And so when we think about a task, we're thinking about three things in this case, right? Gathering data, analyzing data, and then taking steps of what to do with that data. AI is really good at the middle one. We didn't really get into part 3, and maybe we can, depending if we have time, but it's not great at the gathering of data, right? And so it just depends on where you want to use technology for what purpose. I have always found that yes, gathering data is a pain, but once you gather the data, analyzing pit data is even more painful. Because what happens when you're rushed for time, or you have an Excel spreadsheet that's hundreds of lines of customer feedback? The goal is actually being able to synthesize that so that you can actually then pick out the features that you think will actually then make your product more popular, right? And so that's where I focus the AI on. I'm assuming you converted most of these custom jet or notebook apps you can simply run. That is correct. I actually do a lot of these are GPTs. In fact, if you guys have access to premium, just go to all my GPTs start with PMCO, which is PM Copilot. So if you put that in, you'll see some of my GPTs out there. You'll see the ones about brainstorming, OKRs, user stories, acceptance reviews. A lot of the stuff that I've shared with you in the playbook is as part of a GPT, right? So you can always do that. This is good. Any other questions? Good. I want to share, I have 2 minutes. So let me do this. Here's the power of what happens when you do these things called micro tasks, like we talked about, like break a task down into smaller things. We started off with doing App Store reviews. But what happens to a PM once they finish with the App Store reviews? They want to figure out what features to build. You can actually use AI to do that too. So remember we talked about the third part is decision making. If you actually use the well-structured prompt, and I actually have it here, you can actually, I just took one of the reviews from from Figma, is users consistently reported poor mobile support. And I put that down, and I'm actually going to have AI actually brainstorm features for me of what to build. And so now you can take tasks like this, build it together. Let's go to ChatGPT. We're going to open a new one. I'm going to put this in. And what it's really doing, well, it's going to take a few minutes. Let's go back here while I was doing that. What I've really done is I've just given it instructions to give me ideas of how I can solve a user complaint. right? Because remember, we always want to start with the problem first and then come up with all the different ideas and solutions that we want, as opposed to just going and saying the user said, I need mobile, so to speak. And so in here, I asked the 5 questions, and you guys know these 5 questions, right? Every PM starts off with, what problem are we solving? Who are we solving for? What is the product that we want to build? Who's the user or how's the user going to benefit? Sorry, 4 questions. And so I put this in, and here you go. Let's see how ChatGPT does. And here you go. It gives me 20 features, and from here, I can pick and choose which I want. It can give me canvas layouts, optimized controls, offline mode, multi-teacher collaboration, quick commenting. So when a user gives you feedback, you can actually then take that feedback, put it into a prompt, and that prompt you can then come up and brainstorm features. You can then take this even further, right? You can say, okay, you know what? I like feature number 4 and 6. I want to build user stories out of it. And so the power of using AI as microtask is that you can actually then build your own workflow the way you want it to. So I just wanted to share with you the idea that AI can help you with the analysis piece, but then it also can help you with the action piece if you actually build your library just like we have built right here. With that being said, I know I'm 2 minutes over, but I'm happy to stay back and answer any questions. Okay, great. Thank you very much for joining me. If you do like what you saw today and you want to learn more, and if you actually want to get better at automating your PM tasks, if you want to save time, if you want to impress your stakeholders with the quality of your responses, if you want to make a difference, if you want to make a difference in advancing your career, then think about joining my bootcamp. It starts in about a week and a half. Thank you very much for your kind words. I very much appreciate it, and always you can reach out to me through my email address. Yeah. Have a nice day, guys. Bye for now.